The Wild West. If I was a betting man, I'd wager that when you hear those words, you probably think of old Western movies with saloons and high noon duels. You think of bar fights and gunslingers. I think of gunslingers too. Just a different kind of gunslinger. The NL West is one of the most stacked divisions at the start of the 2024 season, with 4 teams all vying for playoff spots this year. This is in large part thanks to the array of dominant arms that called the division home. The 2023 National League Cy Young Award winner came from the NL West, and still calls the division home, albeit after trading San Diego's brown and gold for San Francisco's orange and black. Last year's other 2 finalists also reside in the division. Not to mention the other multiple former winners that also apply their trade in the West. So yeah, like I said, stacked. But even with all the great arms in each of the 5 rotations, there's still one that sits above the other 4 on their respective teams. The ace. He's the one who anchors the rotation, the stopper that ends losing streaks. Some teams might have multiple aces, at least on paper, but at the end of the day, there's only one guy on every team that the manager turns to when everything is on the line and all chips are on the table. The first name that comes to the skipper's mind when it's Game 7 of the World Series. As we all know though, not all aces are created equal. Some are just a bit more filthy and dominant than others, with the numbers to match. Who sits above the others? Well, that's what we're going to find out together. My criteria is simple and falls under 4 categories: performance, stats, health, and team success. I won't be considering pitchers that started this year on the IL, so guys like Clayton Kershaw, Robbie Ray, and German Marquez are ineligible. But other than that, everyone else that was named part of one of the 5 rotations is in the running. So grab a snack, sit back, and let's get to it. The aces of the NL West, ranked. Number 5, Kyle Freeland. We start off with the Rockies ace, a former first-round pick. The homegrown lefty going into his age 31 season is in now his 8th year pitching in the Mile High City. Freeland's career has been somewhat of a roller coaster. He's had his peaks, finishing 4th in the NL Cy Young Award race in 2018 in just his 2nd big league season, going 17-7 with an ERA of 2.85, 173 strikeouts, and an ERA of 1.66. That's pretty damn good if you ask me. But with that peak, he's also had his valleys. Well, the rest of his career. The 5 years since have been, well, rather pedestrian. 27-47 over 118 games, with an ERA of 4.96 and an ERA plus of 99 over that span. He is a talented but frustrating pitcher that has shown flashes of who he can be, just not often or consistently enough. But if we're being honest, my decision to include Freeland on this list has more to do with the team's true ace, German Marquez, being out while he continues recovering from his 2023 Tommy John surgery, than with Freeland being the best arm currently under contract. With all that said though, Freeland is still the best starter in the current rotation, and why I didn't hesitate to include him over other arms like Dakota Hudson or Cal Quantrill. Once Marquez returns though, King Kyle will have to abdicate that throne and let the team's true ace reclaim his rightful title. Number 4, Tyler Glasnow. Going into number 4, and things are already getting a little dicey. Now before you say anything, no, he's not ranked here because he's a Dodger. I actually struggle with ranking Glasnow this low, and here's why. When healthy, the former Pirates 5th round pick is in my opinion one of the best right-handed pitchers in the game. He is the guy who developed in the offense-heavy AL East during his years in Tampa Bay, where not only did he succeed, but he thrived. Of the 5 pitchers that made this ranking, he tops almost every significant category over the past 5 years. ERA, win-loss percentage, ERA+, walks, and strikeout rate. I'm not making a good case for being only 4, am I? You're probably asking yourself, if he's this darn good, then why is he so low? Well, like I said a little earlier, when healthy. While the previously mentioned numbers may top the other aces in this ranking, he has also pitched in far fewer games than anyone else on the list, having started a grand total of 60 games during this period. The next picture after him has pitched in 110. That's 50 less games. Considering what he's done when healthy, I have no doubt his numbers would be even better. But so far, his annual visits to the IL have kept him from that. One other small thing to mention though, the Dodger blue wearing elephant in the room. Will Glasnow even be the team's ace at this time next year? Walker Buehler should return to the rotation in the next month or so. Not to mention Mr. Showtime himself, Shohei Ohtani, should be fully recovered from Tommy John surgery and back on the mound to start the 2025 season. That is some stiff competition right there. With all that said though, Glasnow is a tremendous talent with an immense potential, and if he can stay healthy, I have no doubt he will reach that potential and maybe even challenge some of those other Dodger arms for the title of team ace. But until he pitches in more than 21 games in a season, the baby giraffe is the number 4 ace of the NL West. Number 3, Joe Musgrove. Java Joe. As a Padres fan, Joe holds a special place in my heart, as he tossed the first team's ever no-hitter back in 2021 in just his second ever start wearing his hometown's brown and gold. Musgrove is a former Blue Jays first-round pick, and even though it took him a few years to find his footing after trades to Houston, Pittsburgh, and eventually San Diego, it is now evident why Toronto thought so highly of him. After being the key piece going back to the Pirates in the trade that landed Garrett Cole in the Space City, Musgrove pitched well, if not unspectacularly, during his time with the Buccos. But it's in San Diego where he has developed into the ace that the Blue Jays once envisioned when they drafted him, and one the Padres sorely needed. Even with the big names like Blake Snell and Yu Darvish receiving most of the media attention the past few years. His numbers during the past 5 years are on par with any of the other current aces of the division, and actually better in most categories than his rotation mates of the last 3 years. Last year was setting up to be a great year for Joe, until shoulder inflammation shut him down for good in late July. But if last year's numbers are any indication of things to come, then the Padres rotation is in good hands. Yu Darvish may have been the opening day starter this year, but there is no doubt in my mind that as of right now, the man called Moose is the true ace of the San Diego rotation. Number 2, Logan Webb. You know how I mentioned that putting Glasnow at 4 was hard? Well, ranking 1 and 2 was right down brutal. I struggled mightily between the 2 remaining aces, but after careful deliberation between the council of me, myself, and I, and looking at the stats, in the end I decided that this is where Webb belongs. For now. A former 4th round pick, Webb is the latest of the great homegrown San Francisco aces to anchor the Giants' rotation. As is the case with most pitchers, Webb struggled in his first go-around in the big leagues after debuting during the 2019 season. He didn't fare much better during the COVID-shortened 2020 season, but once 2021 came around, let's just say his footing was found. He became everything the Giants envisioned and more, eventually taking over the top of the rotation to start the 2022 season after the departure of Kevin Gausman to Toronto. Webb thrived in his first season as the team's number 1, reaching career highs in nearly every category. He received Cy Young Award votes in 2022 and was a finalist last year, finishing runner-up to his now teammate Blake Snell. Wait, hold up. His new teammate is Blake Snell, the reigning Cy Young Award winner, and yet I went with Logan Webb as the ace instead. Yeah, I know it sounds far-fetched, but hear me out. While Snell may have won the Cy Young last year, as someone who watched him pitch for the past 3 years, one incredible season does not outweigh the consistency Webb has had throughout the years. Their numbers might be similar during that time, but knowing firsthand the pitcher that Snell is, a talented one but marred with inconsistencies and wildness, Webb is the obvious choice for me. Perhaps deciding the top of this rotation will be a coin flip when it's all said and done. But for now, the Rockland, California native is in my eyes the Giants ace and number 2 in this ranking. Number 1, Zach Gallen. Y'all knew this was coming, right? Like I said before, choosing between 1 and 2 felt impossible at first. But after looking at the stats and everything else, if Game 7 of the World Series was today, and I could only pick one currently active pitcher from the NL West to go out there for me, my choice is Zach Gallen. Gallen bounced around to start his career after having been drafted by St. Louis in the 3rd round. His early years saw him go from the Cardinals to the Marlins before finally landing in Arizona. Boy, how those teams probably wish they'd kept him around. Unlike most pitchers, Gallen found big league success immediately, pitching to an ERA under 3 and an ERA plus of at least 155 in each of his first 2 big league campaigns. He came back down to earth somewhat during an injury-riddled 2021, but he returned to full form, and then some, in 2022, where just like the man at number 2 in this ranking, Gallen pitched career highs in nearly every category, finishing 5th in the Cy Young voting, and following that up with a 3rd place finish in 2023. He also led his team to the World Series last year, knocking out perennial favorites Los Angeles and Philadelphia along the way, before falling just short against the offensive juggernaut that was the 2023 Texas Rangers. He has been a true model of consistency, and has spent the majority of the past 5 years dominating at the top of the Diamondbacks rotation. He is also one of the reasons Arizona is yet again a sexy playoff pick this year. While other names might take the top slot in this ranking when healthy, right here, right now, the best arm in the division is the milkman of the Arizona desert. Those are my NL West aces ranked. What do you guys think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Did I make good points? Or am I cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs? I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions on my thoughts and opinions in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed the video, please hit the like button below and subscribe so you don't miss any of my new content. I'll catch you guys next time here on the Baseball Blues.